This threat of pandemic, as we all know, yes, it is a common humanity concern. It is a common threat throughout the world. However, the impact that it has on each of us is very subjective because each of us are our own entities. So, how I may react to crisis might be very different to, how Daisy may react to crisis, or how Jennifer may. So it's very, very subjective experience. So one important fact that you want to know is that crisis always causes change, and change always causes crisis. So even though it's a good change, it's always going to be causing crisis. Like, look at the life. You get married, you have kids, or you bring a pet. These are all supposedly good, positive changes. However, because it's different from what it used to be, so it kind of causes a little bit of a chaos there initially until you get used to it and it becomes routine. So obviously, none of us was prepared for something like this. So that's why when this happened, especially, not only we were not prepared for it, but it's so ambiguous that me and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So that also adds to anxiety, because anxiety increases when things are ambiguous and uncertain, and I don't know what's about to happen. That's why when I stay too much in the future, I become anxious. When I spend too much time in my past, I become depressed. So, like they say these days, being present in the present moment is practicing to being here and now. Yes, visit your past, visit your future, but being able to bring in yourself back on track and here and now is a skill that you want to teach yourself. All these buzzwords that they say: meditation, mindfulness, yoga, all that. That is simply, all of them are just about being able to being in present moment, being able to being here and now with yourself. I have what I learned from my past. Obviously, I can't do anything about past because past doesn't exist. 2 seconds ago doesn't exist. Whatever I said, it's gone. It's belonged to past, and future has not arrived. But I can move towards future with the lessons that I learned from my past and stay here and now, remaining in the present moment. So a lot of us forget that we have this skill when crisis happens. Naturally, as human beings, we are wired to respond to stress via fight, flight, freezing, or fleeing. So that's why, you see these days when this happened, people didn't really know how to deal with this. Corona attacks the town and people are worried about toilet paper, kind of like irrational, right? Because it's all about, I want to have as much as resources that I have. So if you think about it, a lot of other interventions that people took are not very rational, because that's what anxiety does to us. We are wired to respond to a very limited sources of anxiety. Also, you want to remember something that choice theory really encourages, that you have choices. I have choices that when crisis happen, sit here and feel self-pity for myself and say, will this happen, or I'm going to lose my job, or what if this happened, what if that happens, or like, what if I get corona and die, who's going to take care of my family? Or I have choices to be productive. It's up to me. My life is like a car that I'm the only one who's driving it. I have a choice to drive it through a wall, or I have a choice to stop at the stop sign. So sometimes another source of anxiety is that when we forget that we have this ability to manage what's going on around us. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about it's a fact about acceptance and commitment theory. We as human beings, our only saying is we practice to accept what we cannot change. Unfortunately, the majority of the stuff on this planet, me and you cannot change. We don't have a control on it. That's why even the word control causes anxiety. So I can't control everything, but I can manage my own actions. I can manage my own emotions. I can manage my own cognition. I can manage myself, right? So that's also another thing that you want to be aware of. Speaking of aware, you want to practice awareness, being aware of yourself, being aware of the world around you, fixing your relationship with yourself, fixing your relationship with the world around you. You know, a lot of people are talking, you know, as much as they make joke about, oh yeah, during quarantine, you know, we all like eating, or we have a tendency to drink more, but it's actually a very serious matter. And I think that comes where I tend to lose that connection with myself. Therefore, I become less and less self aware. And then I lose the connection with the world around me. So I am anxious. Therefore, I'm going to eat. I am triggered or I am bored. Therefore, I'm going to drink. Naturally, as human beings, we have a tendency to have undelayed gratification. So, one of the formulas for our growth is we learn as we are growing and as we are maturing to delay our gratification. So, that is also very important when, you know, impulsive act comes. So that those are the skills that you can learn. Also, although I talked about it and a lot of other people are talking about it too, yeah, be productive, you know, finish on your unfinished businesses, read all your unread books. You know, how many dishes do you have in the house that you're gonna wash? So what else am I gonna be doing? A lot of times I think, and I hope all of us take our attention away from being productive to being, like I said, present. It's great to be productive, but it's more important to be present at a given moment. How do I practice being present? A lot of times, trying to be productive is also numbing yourself and distracting yourself. How about embracing how you're feeling? Sometimes it's okay not to be okay. You know, a lot of times, if you notice, people are distracting themselves, doing things, doing tasks, gardening, you know, talking on the phone, chatting and emailing and doing this and that and Instagramming and all that to distract themselves. And that's against what I shared a few minutes ago about awareness and mindfulness and being present. So embrace your feelings, accept your feelings. Well, I'm anxious, I'm anxious. Well, I'm depressed. Yeah, I am. I'm not supposed to be okay at all times. Things are not to be comfortable and convenient in any given moment. Sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes I'm very sad. Sometimes I'm fine. Sometimes I'm very happy because you're only a human being. You're not a pre-programmed machine. So accept that. Don't compare yourself with anyone. I always use this, especially when I was a student. You know, I wish somebody had told me that when I was an undergrad student. Do not ever compare yourself with other people. Your journey, especially in college, is kind of like hiking. You know, you don't want to see, oh my God, how come this hiker is going like so far away? They are so much faster than I am. And I'm like sitting here, I'm just lazy. And I'm just going to sit here and label myself lazy. I'm just not in shape. I'm never going to be that good. And before I know it, you know, I miss them. They're already at the summit. You don't also, like in hiking, you don't want to look back too much. And because then you're going to get dizzy and you're going to fall. That's why I say just visit the past, learn from the past. Don't really stay there. Keep moving forward, looking at the summit, but staying present with each step and go on your journey. Do not really compare yourself with other people. Only compare yourself with how you were in the past. Also, another techniques that I wanted to teach you is that checking your health. So when you're feeling that You want to do something impulsive. Maybe you want to drink more than you are supposed to. You want to use substances, or you probably have a problem with eating. Check your HALT. What is that? HALT. So at every moment, ask yourself, am I hungry? H for hungry. Am I angry? Am I lonely? Or am I tired? A lot of times, you think you're hungry, but you're actually just bored. You're just tired. You're feeling lonely. You're feeling disappointed. You're feeling rejected. You're feeling angry. Have you heard of the term hangry? That's the same thing. You don't mix your emotions. And again, stop shaming and blaming yourself for not being productive, or I'm so behind, or I'm not doing anything. Another formula of sanity is how well you learn to adjust, you learn to adapt, you learn to be flexible to these changes. Changes happens, you change with the change. You get used to this new normal. Yes, before you used to go to the gym every day. Now gyms are closed. Okay, what's the closest to the gym that I can have? Can I have a little gym in my house with just a Swedish ball and, I don't know, a mat or a couple weights? I don't have that. Okay, maybe I use my Fitbit and I just walk at home and count my steps. I can do that, right? So I don't know, hair salons are closed. Maybe I try a different hairstyle for a while. A lot of things that we thought they were priorities, they're not really priorities. And I think one of the lessons that this coronavirus taught us is that our values will reset. I talked to a lot of women that they thought, I cannot survive without my nail salon. And now, you see them and they're doing just fine. They survived. So obviously that wasn't a priority, but they all thought it was a priority. What else do I have to talk here with you? Yes. Develop healthy coping skills. List your coping skills, whatever that is. Again, all those buzzwords: meditation, yoga, exercising. There are plenty of free meditating apps online that you could have and just do that. Like I said, it's not supposed to be a big, strange thing. Meditation simply is practicing to staying present at the given moment. Breathe mindfully. When you get up in the morning, try to see three things, hear three things that is around you. That could be anything from a car sound, or your pet barking, or birds singing outside. Smell three things, see three things. Actually sense all your senses. That is meditation. That's simple. Stop labeling yourself. You are not your emotions. Sometimes when people say, well, I am anxious, I am depressed, I am anorexic, I am schizophrenic. No, you are not your disorder. You have a disability. You are not disabled. You have depression. You are an individual with addiction. You are not them. So when you start labeling yourself, then you become them. Also, what else do I have? I talked about most of these with you. Yeah, I think I talked about everything except this one. Practice self-compassion. If you don't practice self-empathy and self-love and self-compassion, nobody else will. If you don't learn, if you don't know how to love yourself and how to show yourself that you love yourself and you care about yourself, nobody else will. And you are not able to love anybody else genuinely. So practice showing that to yourself. And also hope. Hope is the number one reason that me and you are alive today. And every night you go to bed and you set your alarm to wake up the next morning, that means you have hope that you're not going to die in your sleep. You're going to get up. And that's why, me and you again are sitting here today. Otherwise, we would have been like, well, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Why even bother trying today? We're still here. We're still trying because we know life is not supposed to be easy. That's all I have for you today. So if you have any questions, I'm all ears. I'm going to put myself on mute while you're asking questions, and then I'll get back to you.
Thank you so much for enlightening us, Dr. L. It's been really informative and just a great learning experience listening to you. One of the questions I had for you is, what are some ways to practice boundaries within, whether it's loved ones or family members we're living with, and we're close together all the time with the quarantine. So, what are really some ways to really practice boundaries?
Sure. I think the most important one is that you want to have boundaries with yourself first. Let me give you an example. If I am a person that news really makes me anxious, listening to news really makes me anxious. So I practice having boundaries with myself. I'm gonna go on the news diet. Only 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes before I go to bed. From limited sources, only from the expert, not from so and so on Instagram, they said something. So I'm practicing boundaries with myself. I try to show people around me that I have boundaries with myself and I have self-discipline. One example, I do have a friend who really likes to call me and tells me like all the news about this coronavirus. And I had this talk with her. I said, I'm really trying to myself. And I added humor to it because I didn't want to sound really confrontational to her. I'm going on a news diet. So I don't really talk about these things. I really am trying to limit my sources of the news. So I don't really. Let's talk about other things. Let's talk about like the last book that you read. Let's talk about what is the next. What's the first restaurant you want to go once the stores open? Like things like that. So I either change the topic or I actually say that I'm not interested to talk about these. If people want to visit you and you don't believe it's safe to have face-to-face contact with them, I would very nicely, just as simple as that, honestly say that to them. So practice communication. The better I communicate, less confrontation, but then inviting them to hear your point of view. I think at least that's how I do it. Do you have a specific scenario about that, David, that you may want to ask?
Possibly just living with just being around family members constantly. So sometimes um, I think sometimes it just gets tired of being around each other. Maybe sometimes easier to get in a disagreement. So I think just kind of better communication between family members all the time, I'd say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So like what happens? Like give me an example, like a few lines in the conversation.
I think just during quarantine, I think just being in cramped quarters so long, I think just over there's been times with like whether it's a sibling over just nothing, and it's just kind of like a over like an argument, and I think it just comes down to just being around each other so much, so I think just trying to really just make boundaries, and better communication.
I do talk about that all the time. Oh my goodness, this half of the individuals that I work with on a daily basis are couples whose issues are starting to increase during this time. Where I think it's not Corona's fault that the issues are coming. The reason is that, again, like I said, during crisis, our emotional skin gets thinner, so our everything starts to bother us. Things that really wasn't a big deal 4 or 5 months ago now are a big deal for us. And also we are not used to be in each other's spaces 24/7. So it's again a change, and change is not supposed to be easy. So it's okay, it takes some time for all of us to get used to that. So possibly we never had a good communication skill. Like we never had good communication pattern of like of skills. Our communication with each other was not that good in the past. We had just numbed ourselves with being outside or like being at work, and now we're not, and now things are starting to get back. So let's actually restructure our communication skills. Let's sit here and talk about this. Can you tell me like 4 things that really I do that gets on your nerves? It's okay, I'll sit here and listen to you. Okay, so when you don't put your dishes in the sink, it really gets on my nerves, and that's the correct. It's a very communication has a very, very simple formula. We just make it hard instead of saying, well, you always or you never. So let go of all these generalization, overgeneralization. Be very specific. When you do A, B, or C, it makes me feel blah blah blah. Can you please from now on, and then the sentence. That's a very simple sentence. Instead of saying, you always do that, you don't care about me, you don't see me, I never felt like I was seen in this house, all that, you can simply just mention the exact same thing that this person is doing that you don't agree with, and invite them for a maybe they have a different point of view, maybe they're totally oblivious. Oh, I had no idea that I was doing that, I'm so sorry. Sometimes you just have to accept that. So a lot of times, you notice that, what, am I really getting defensive? Is that my baggage or the other person's? So communication, family meetings. I think it's a great time right now to have family meetings. Sit down and eat together. Some things that, possibly in the past you rarely had time for. How are you guys utilizing this time at home? Let me ask you. What are you doing? Like, how are you positively taking advantage of this time? Let me ask at least couple of ideas.
So I can say something. So I have always really liked cooking, but since I am always really busy and like out, I can never be home. So I take some time to just take a few minutes of my day to make sure that I cook something new and that I actually enjoy the cooking. I'm not like listening to something stressful like the news or something at that moment. I like reserve different times for that. So I kind of try to like you were saying, to make these boundaries so that yes, I want to be informed. So I'm going to listen to the news maybe like 20 minutes in the morning, but I won't be doing that while I'm doing something I'm enjoying because I might get stressed out. So it like keeps everything nice and enjoyable.
Beautiful. So actually practicing being in the moment, actually being present at the present moment, being present with your cooking, embracing that. Something that, maybe before you were just cooking because you needed to eat and just go, not really mindful of what was going on. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Somebody else, how are you utilizing this time to stay connected to your loved ones?
I guess I could go. So I've been taking advantage of the time spending with my family, with my mom and dad, because I know that this upcoming school year I won't be able to spend time with them anymore, since I'll be going to law school and that's like a full-time job. So I'm kind of like taking advantage of that time I won't have with them. I'm like watching like movies at night every day. And I've also been taking advantage by learning to play piano again. I used to do it when I was young, but I lost that skill once I got older and got more busy. So now I'm starting to learn and read music again, and it kind of de-stresses me in a way as well. Because like I heard that music helps you, and I felt that it has helped me. I kind of like just focus on the moment, focus on the notes, and focus on how the song goes and how long it takes each note to be. So I've been doing that.
Awesome, Vanessa. Speaking of having healthy coping mechanisms, and that's I was kind of sharing this with a friend. That's so embarrassing. I don't even remember what was the last time that I witness the sunset. And recently I actually just embraced that and look at it. I was just, I'm like, wow, all this time I was not aware of that. So great. Thank you for sharing that. David, did I kind of answer your questions, or do you want me to go back to your question, or should I move to if there is another question to that?
No, you definitely answered my question. Thank you so much, Dr. O. Yeah, we can definitely move on to other questions.
My pleasure. If we have any questions, I have a couple more minutes.
So I have a question, and it's regarding just more so kind of like the apps, the mental health apps, because a couple of like the mental health apps that I have found, they'll like have free trials, but to like I guess move on to some of the exercises that they have on there, they do charge you. I guess my question is like, what are some suggestions, or like whether it's like apps or links that would offer those exercises for free?
Yeah, I think if you just search for free mental health apps, it will come up. VA offers a lot of completely free mental health apps. One of the most recent one that I think that was released a couple of weeks ago is a CBT app. I have to look up the name. I don't remember the name exactly, but that was new. However, you also want to consider apps are great. I think even mental health clinicians need to have these apps and use them. Self-help books are awesome. Articles are fantastic. Listening to is like podcasts, all of them. They're all great resources. However, they're not therapy. I always tell people, if your therapist hasn't been to therapy, don't ever go to them. I think therapy is like a mental shower, and we all do need to consult with an expert, especially in college. So I think that is, and I'm so ashamed that when I was in college, I was not in therapy. The first time I was exposed to therapy is when I was in grad school, and that was because my school required that. They said all doctoral students need 50 hours of therapy. And I then had to go search for a therapist and realized, wow, all these years I've been missing out of that. So, excuse me. I do believe that, if you really feel college, stress, whatever else that has been there, consult with professionals, especially during this time. But mental health apps are, you're right, Alondra, the totally free ones are limited, but they're still there. Again, I would just go ahead and search whatever I can find. Mindfulness apps are free. A lot of mindfulness apps, you can find them for free, totally free. They're like guided meditation apps, or they call them meditation apps, just meditation apps. You can find them. You can also email me if I find anything else. I can email them to you.
Thank you so much. I have a follow-up question, but this is more so kind of like, I guess, a personal question. But I want to know, because I've personally started or trying to see a therapist, but how do you know when like you and your therapist are kind of like a right fit? Because I've also heard sometimes it takes time to find the right therapist.
Great question. Wow, I am so thrilled you asked this. Thank you. Yes, that's why they say therapy shopping. If you don't connect with them the first time, I say don't waste time. Don't go there. Doesn't matter what kind of degree they have. And I will disclose about my experience. So when my school forced us to go seek a therapist for 50 hours, at first I was so against it. I went to my school supervisor and I said, I'm a doctoral student. When you're a first year doctoral student, you think you're it. And I'm like, I have no problems. I just have stress about school and I'm fine. And, she said, shame on you. You, first of all, you're an immigrant here. that's in and of itself needs that you need therapy because you've been through so much difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, you're in grad school. Third of all, you are going to be a shrink. How are you going to sit on the other side of the table, not ever having the experience of being the other person on the chair? So I was like, okay, fine, I'll go find a therapist. I went and I found this, supposedly well-experienced therapist, and I go sit there and like start to warm up and tell this lady about my life. And in the middle of the therapy, she got up and she walked to her fax machine to make sure that my insurance papers were coming through.
Mm-hmm.
I got up and I said, you know what, thank you so much. You go ahead and charge me. I'm not coming back. And she said, I'm so sorry. I just had a very tough day. And I'm like, lesson number 2, you never tell your client about your tough day. It's not about you. And I was very disappointed. I was even disappointed, to be honest with you, about the field. I'm like, I don't want to be a therapist if this is what a therapist of 50 years look like. And then I didn't get disappointed. I went and I found another clinician. On paper, I had nothing in common with him. He was gay and he was, male, and he was white. But that turned out to be the best experience of my life. Not only I completed that 50 hours with him, I went back to him and I keep referring, even to this date, I keep referring people to him. He was awesome. The good therapy, the things that you can learn in an amazing therapy, you're not going to learn through any books. So it's very, very important. If you don't connect with one, don't worry. Don't get disappointed. Keep shopping. Because not everybody that goes to school, has all the skills. It's also about personal connection with them. If you go there and like it gives you an icky feeling, it's kind of like a blind date, You don't know them. You just read about them and you just go and sit in front of them and it kind of looks weird. So you step out. You just, thank you very much. Don't schedule me for next session. I'll call you when I want.
At this therapy session, I just felt like I was being scolded. And I just wasn't sure if that was like a norm or something like that. And
no therapist is supposed to judge you or yell at you. So if a clinician hasn't dealt with their own baggages, it's not your fault. It's your therapy. It's not, it's not their therapy. So, and obviously if you feel you're judged, you can communicate that with them. A lot of them actually are open to it. They will listen to it and it's like, well, thank you for telling me that. I must have been totally oblivious of judging you. I apologize. Own that. And do you think now can we move on? I think a fair clinician can say that. Kind of role modeling for you to take, to forgive and take responsibility for your mistakes and move on.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for answering my question.
I'm so glad you asked that. Thank you so much.
And we have another question from Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Brandon. I had one question. My question is because I've been trying to communicate with my friends, from Los Angeles, but like some people just.
Brandon, I'm having difficulties hearing you. Is this just me?
Sorry. Hello?
Hi. Is that just me? I think I'm hearing music in the background, Brandon.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's my parents who hear music.
So you gotta compete with that. You gotta speak louder.
I am speaking loud. Okay.
Perfect.
I have one question. One question was, I've been trying to communicate with some of my friends who are in Los Angeles because originally I'm from Los Angeles, but I moved out to here, and some people just tell me you don't have. I don't have time. I don't have time, and I just kind of feel like when people tell me no, like it's kind of like similar to like being discriminated or um, being being called like a racist. Like, I don't know why. It's just how do you deal with the word no? Because I've always had that weak. I have a weak mindset when it comes to people telling me no.
So correct me if I got you wrong. What I heard you saying is that you have a hard time with hearing no,
Yes,
right? When people say no, I am not available for you.
yes,
I don't have time for you.
yeah, and I feel
I don't want to see you today. It's an icky feeling. It's not a pleasant feeling. Obviously, nobody wants to hear that. It's kind of this, I would feel kind of, to be extreme, do you agree that it's kind of close to feeling rejected or abandoned?
yeah, I kind of feel abandoned.
Again, Brandon, you want to go back and look at it. Is it kind of a Brandon thing? Or is it what I'm making of it? Or is this actually there? Looking at my past, has it been a pattern for me? Is that why my emotional skin is kind of thin right now? And then it really hurts me? Or is it simply, this person had no intention to abandon me? They just thought they were honest and they told me that I'm not available right now. Trying to practice to see this world through other people's eyes. It happens to all of us, sometimes you feel judged even.
But it's hard to think about other people when the what's going on with the coronavirus, and like I'm bored. Like I don't have anything to do other than attending classes. Like I'm bored.
That's a very, very common complaint of 99% of the people, Brandon. You are not alone. We are all swimming in the same soup. That's very common. But then again, being alone, Brandon, is different from being lonely. You have a choice of what to make for it. I have a choice of using my alone time for growth, or using my boredom as a trigger to do all the wrong things, or allowing all the negative thoughts to attack me and then judge myself and label myself and come here and sit here and throw a pity party for myself and say nobody cares about me, nobody wants me, everybody has somebody to talk to and something to do, and I don't have anything to do. What am I going to do with that? And you know what? Sometimes, like I told you a few minutes ago, I was talking about it's okay not to be okay. You're not supposed to be preoccupied, Brandon, at all times. Sometimes you just have to sit, let it be, self-reflect. You don't have to be productive, just be present. Practice that. If somebody says, I don't have time for you, well, okay, when do you think you have time for me? Schedule something with your friends. Kind of like this meeting, like have a Zoom party of 4. Let's sit here and have coffee and talk. It doesn't have to be long. How about 10 minutes per week? You don't like reading your books? That's fine. What else would you like to do? If you look at this time 5 years from now, Brandon, what would you say? I wish I had done what? What are the 3 things that you wish you would have accomplished during this time? Communication. Communicate with people. Let them know how you're feeling. Don't go back and label yourself and say, oh, I am abandoned because I'm probably an unloved person. I'm never going to be loved, and it's me and it's not them. A lot of times it's their baggages, and sometimes it's me and you. Sometimes it's my baggages.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Fell, for presenting to the club. We really appreciate it. I think this meeting is definitely important in terms of mental health. I want to thank everybody for attending this meeting. And yeah, do you have any last words, Dr. O?
My pleasure. No, it's I wish all of you, you know, it's very refreshing to see all of your young and beautiful faces here, and that's impressive that you're still continuing maintaining these meetings during this time. That's awesome. You know, I do again encourage you to utilize our your resources. Talk to professionals if you feel you need to talk to. If there's a question that any of you had but didn't feel comfortable to ask me during this talk, you're more than welcome to email me. Um, David has my email, so you could email me. I will get to him as soon as I can, and I wish all of you a great night.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. L. Thank you again. I'll see
My
you around later.
pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.